In an episode titled One Glorious and Perfect Episode, that is exactly what I think we got to start this season. It was messy. There was idols that you had to jump through a million hoops to get to. There was, I think, like a panic attack, but we're going to get into what actually went down with our boy Andy. But everybody, welcome to the Survivor Now podcast, and this is the Survivor 47 after show. Jay's already in the chat, almost a perfect and glorious episode. You guys can hop over to our live chat. We like to call it our Ancient Voices. Interact with us as we break this episode down. My name is Randy, but I cannot do this alone this evening, so I have an amazing panelist of gentlemen here to break it all down with me. From season 41 of Survivor, we have Eric Abraham. From seasons 44 and 45, we have Bruce. And another new podcaster for us, we have Josh Green. Gentlemen, hello. Welcome to the stream tonight. I don't know why I said it like that. You know, I did pretty good for the intro. I'll say it like that. But we obviously have a lot to talk about because this was a 2-hour episode. So I don't want to waste too much time. I want to get straight into the thick of things, but I'm going to start with Josh, actually. Josh, as a premiere episode, especially coming off of Survivor 46, where good premiere, but obviously we know that it was kind of stale the first couple of weeks. What was your takeaway from this episode? Did you enjoy it? How did you feel, once the episode was completed?
I definitely enjoyed it. I think that the premiere always is a lot of fun because there's so much new stuff going on, new people to meet, new dynamics to figure out, people who you think may struggle or doing well, people who you think may be doing well, like, someone who we'll get to later, I'm sure, struggle a little bit. So it's, there's a whole lot to explore that I find a lot of fun. So, and this one, I think really delivered. I think that all three tribes have interesting things going on, some fun characters, really funny moments already. I have a really, really solid premiere.
Abraham, do you agree with Josh? Good premiere for the most part. I mean, there was a lot of intriguing television happening.
Let me tell you something. I got to give my hats off to production. If episode 1 is an indication of what the season going to look like, let this roller coaster ride begin, because that's the most we've seen in an episode 1 since the new era.
Ooh, okay.
Layers on top of the layers. I was like, this is what we're looking for. Players that come out there to play. We saw some missteps. We're gonna talk about them, but we saw some great steps too. Love the challenges. I mean, productions. I want to give, because nobody ever talks about production, and me and Bruce, we get a chance to see what you don't see on TV, and the crew and everybody else is there. So hats off to production for digging in the vault and creating another season that's definitely gonna be something that we're gonna listen and look for.
I mean, 2 for 2 so far with people saying this was an incredible episode. Bruce, you're also, much like Josh, a new member of the podcast this season. What was your takeaway from this episode? Was this a plus episode for you?
Man, it was a plus episode just for the fact that 19 months ago, I actually stepped off that island. I was taken back. I actually said to my wife at one point in time, like, I can smell right now the island. I can smell, Andy. He was funky. Like, I can smell it. Like, it was just all right there. And they did a great job of throwing, just the onion. They peeled off a little bit of the onion all the way around like 3 times, because it just kept giving us more and more and more stuff to be able to take a look at. So I was very, very pleased with this 2-hour episode, the premiere, and I can't wait to start talking about it.
Yeah, there's just, I don't even know where to begin. Like, starting off, like when the episode was about to go on air, I was like, I was torn. Should I take notes? Should I just sit back and enjoy it for what it is and take like mental notes? Should I sit here and actually take notes? I chose to take like a fine medium. Like, let's take some notes just so I stay on topic, just so I don't miss anything. But for the most part, just watch. And I have to scroll down because that's how much actually took place this episode. So I think we should just get straight into the thick of things, right? I wasn't going to start with who got eliminated, how the strategy talk went, but it was just such a big part of this episode. So I'm going to throw out a name here. and it rhymes with my name. It's actually his name is in my name, and that's Andy, which was the I hate to say it like this. He was the Banu of the episode. He was the main focal point. Right away, we saw Andy connecting with John and how he felt like this was someone he wanted to work with. And you start thinking, oh, this is good. Like right away, he's making an alliance. It looks great for Andy. And then it just plummeted. His Survivor stock just went down throughout the episode. And we saw him battling some actually real world stuff. I will say that, I'm sure most of us have been in a position where you don't feel like you're connecting with anyone, and it's got to be tough to go back out there, have a tribe. You have this excitement of being on Survivor, and you're just like, oh yeah, I'm ready to work with everyone. And to have a tribe that you don't feel anyone has your back. You're like, yeah, I've got John here, but like no one's cheering for me. And it had to be tough for him. So I'll go back to you, Bruce, to start off this topic on Andy. This is really tough to watch because, especially someone like Tegwith, she's met Andy through Bryson Wynn present events, and he seems like a really genuine down-to-earth guy, and he just really struggled in these first couple of days.
Yeah, it's, everybody sits there on their couch, and I think Cerise said it the best. Like, you sit on your couch, and you're like, oh, my God, I can do that, I can do that. And then when you get out there, reality kicks you straight in the face. It's not even like there's no other explanation for it. You get out there and you are all your creature comforts are gone. And then you have time. It might not look like it. They're filming you for 24 hours. They're cutting it, chopping it, and they're putting a little bit on TV for 2 hours. That's 72 hours of stuff they're putting out there. And he now is sitting there having time to deal with his demons. Like this is not for the faint heart. Like faint of heart, it isn't. Like you go out there and you know that you have to honestly know you're gonna change a little bit. You're gonna have to deal with a whole bunch of stuff, and then put the personalities on top of it. Not eating, bugs crawling on you, being in the sand, trying to avoid the sun because it's like the sun's on your back. It's so hot out there. Like you have so many other things going on, but the biggest part of it all is your mental status. Like you can't go out there and think that it's going to be peaches and cream. Like you're going to be good to go. Like, and that's what he's going through. He's going through a moment like this moment that everyone goes through, which is his is more intense than most people.
Josh, what was your takeaway from Andy? Because I mean, Bruce said it. You get out there with the elements, and Abraham. This is a big thing for Abraham, and he'll probably bring it up when he gets to talking on this topic. But there's a 19th castaway out there, and it's Fiji itself, which adds to the struggles. Obviously, myself and you, we don't know what it's like to actually be out there on the island, so you can tell from watching kind of how socially Andy was struggling out there.
Oh yeah, I mean, poor Andy. Like he seems like someone, very involved in the Survivor community, and everyone who talks about him has really, really good things to say. So it seems like, he was saying, this is not who I normally am. This is not who I thought I would be out here. Which, you watch enough Survivor and you listen to enough interviews, you hear like everybody, like Bruce just said, like everybody hits that point. And I've also heard people say that, like, when you get to, days like 3, 4, 5, it's when like, the starvation and the elements really kick in, and you kind of get used to it a little bit after that. But like, that's kind of where a lot of players like hit their bottom in that day 3 to 5 range. And yeah, it's just unfortunate that his blow up happened when it did, how it did. Like if the 3 people on the puzzle had won, then, he would have been in a totally different situation. But yeah, I mean, it's, unfortunate that all that stuff is in your head, and he couldn't help but say it out loud, and then that created a whole situation. But good for him, he survived. So
he did survive it.
Joke might be on us.
It's funny you say that, because like props to John for even still trying to work with his buddy in the first place, because that's where my mind went first, is like, there's no way I would work with you after you just said, I was about to throw John under the bus. I mean, maybe it's what sunk John's game in the end, but I would go back to camp and I'm voting Andy. I'm voting Andy. He threw out my name. Like I'm not working with him, obviously. So I was almost shocked. You said, Josh, he didn't go home. So good for Andy. But that's where my mind is just blown tonight. I just can't believe it.
I mean, we saw a lot of players prepared to play the game of Survivor. What you don't know is the X factor. It's that 19 castaway Fiji. also you got to be able to be within yourself a few days before you even start the game because you're in isolation. There's no cell phones, there's no computers, there's no conversation. You can talk to the handlers about different stuff, but you're not carrying long conversations with anybody. So you already have to figure out how do you be with myself because that's really all you're going to talk to is yourself. And then when you get out to that first challenge, that's probably the first time you get to talk to each other. So it's difficult to say how he would have or could have played. We just saw how he played. And he came out the box like, oh man, I was just hoping he didn't quit. Really, I was like,
I did get that feeling. Did anyone else get that feeling that he was going to quit?
Yes. Yes. Okay. I walked around my house and I'm jumping all over the place. I'm like, if he quits, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Funny thing is,
Bruce, hold up, Bruce. You know what we have to go through to get there. And I was like, who did his? Who did his stuff?
Funny thing is, too, I totally forgot that it was a 2-hour episode. Full transparency. I totally forgot. So I'm looking at my phone, and they still haven't done the challenge, and it's like 9:20. And I was like, now, hold on a second. Is Andy quitting here? There's no way, right? And it obviously would have been a terrible look based off how the past couple seasons have gone, not mentioning any names, but it would have been a rough look. Let me show some of these comments here. Jay says, can't believe Andy wasn't voted out. Mind blowing. Anthony says, so bitterly disappointed in Andy. I will say this. If Andy turns it around, it's going to be an incredible story. Like if he...
Stop. No, let's not even go down that path. This is not a turnaround time. This was strategy being played out. So let's not even go with that.
No. I'm sorry, Josh. Go ahead.
I mean, yeah, I like something Omer from 42 tweeted. I was like, comparing Andy to, Kathy Bavrick O'Brien and Holly Hoffman, like people who had huge meltdowns in the past and had huge, nobody likes me. I'm not getting along with anything. Like Holly in particular had really, really huge meltdown where she she kind of went crazy. She took someone's shoes, threw them in the ocean, and then minutes later, confessed it to him. But she went on, all the way to 4th place and was a really formidable threat to win. And Kathy, same thing, where she was totally a mess in the beginning, but thankfully her tribe kept winning. And she was at the end, everyone was upset that she got voted out in 3rd place. They thought she was robbed. They thought she should have won. So we've seen it before. On the other hand, we have seen Banu last season too, where he never really recovered. So you don't really know what you're going to get here, but you don't find out until you get there. Yeah, you don't find out until you get there. But if I'm Andy, I'm not, completely shutting the door on my hopes just yet.
I mean, Josh, in terms of your scales, are you more on the Kathy side or are you more on the Banu side? Where's your scale out right now with Andy?
If Banu is a 0 and Kathy is a 10, I would put Andy at a 4 right now.
Okay, so you're leaning Banu a little bit, yeah.
A little bit, but he's not that bad. But I think if he, a 4.
Yeah, my fear is too the fact, and obviously we can get to this more towards the end of the episode, and we usually don't look too much into the next week on Survivor because CBS is trying to drive a certain narrative. But on the next week on Survivor, I don't know if you guys saw that. It was another it seems like Andy and Annika are not going to get along this season because Annika once again is I just can't. It almost feels like. What was the term she used? It almost feels like
clingy boyfriend.
Clingy boyfriend, yeah.
Which is
or emotionally clingy something.
Which is what I was getting. I mean, I'll admit at times I can be that person where I get a little jealous and I'm like, why aren't they cheering? They just cheered for him and he did the exact same thing. But that's what he's giving off, the emotion where it's like, dude, we're just happy to get coconut. Sorry we didn't cheer for you. It almost seems like with Andy, you have to give him praise with every single thing he does, or he's going to be like, why am I not getting the attention? Bruce, you got something?
Hello and welcome to the world of Survivor and the youngins that they bring on board. Now, listen, there are a lot of people that don't have that mentality, but I'm telling you, if we're going to the same scale and brought in the Bono, I honestly, listen, was from Boston. I guess he lives in New York now. I'm going to throw him to 1. It's one of those things oh my God, you didn't see me open up the coconuts. Nobody cheered for me. Instant gratification. No, you can't have it. This is Survivor. If you get that, people, you look at it now, people are already like, oh my God, they're cheering for this one. Like that was great. That's why John's gone. Like, come on. Like it just can't happen. It's a cool thing that's going on. Before it used to be the strong. I'm gonna keep the strong. And that's why they kept Andy around, because he does have a little bit more muscle.
A little strength to him,
yeah, a little strength. But that's not the case really any longer. Like I really do think that it's gonna be, if he lasts 2 more weeks, I don't know what I'll do. I'll just do something silly. I'll do a cartwheel in the middle of Manhattan. I don't know.
Show up to the podcast with a wig. That's it.
Yeah, that's a good bet.
Write it down.
I do think
hey, but you know what?
Sorry, go ahead.
Like Bruce said, they're filming 72 hours of footage. We only got a snippet. Think of what it took Rachel to say about Andy when he woke her up. Don't get me wrong. People realize when they get there, it's not your couch. And you do need somebody to talk to or confide in. But you got to also remember you playing a game. And Rachel is playing the game. And she's like, I know this food didn't wake me up. First of all, you know how hard it is to get some sleep in a hot steam bath where you just saw ants just crawling across your ground. You like, man, if I can get tired, if I can get an hour, I'm happy. So I think that he's going to mess other people's game up to the point that he's a liability. I think he's going to get himself voted out for that.
See, I was going to say that I agree with you guys in that if they lose next episode, I think he's cooked. I unless something crazy happens, I think he seems like he's in trouble. But if his tribe can go on a winning streak, then and take some time to like gain his footing, then I think we could see that happen. I've seen people are saying like Gabler had a really rough first episode in season 43, and he seemed like he was totally spent after the first episode, but then his tribe didn't go to tribal again. And by the time it was like 10 days later, and he had gained a lot of momentum and things were better. I can definitely see that happening with Andy if he like gets time to breathe and get that anxiety like calm down a little bit. He could be in a better spot, but yeah, I think it exactly what Abraham and Bruce are saying, that like all of this stuff, this momentum is just piling, and losing is not going to help with that. So I do think that if they lose next week, it's not looking too good for Andy.
I don't know I'm sorry, but I don't know if anybody noticed in that challenge of pulling the sled when your boy grabbed it like this with his arms and went like this. Did anybody see that?
No,
I didn't. Was it Andy?
It was just basically, it's moving, so now I'm moving my arms, and it's right. And then when he fell down, there was like the rope was a little curved when he fell down. I fell down. No, they're gonna realize they're gonna go to tribal next week. I really do feel like they're gonna go to tribal next week. They're gonna see that he, as much as they want to keep him because he looks strong. Even one of them said he has brute strength, but how strong is it? Yeah, we'll have to see what happens.
Go ahead, Abraham.
So let's point out something right quick. I don't want nobody, because Will's always talking about older people in Survivor. Did you see Sue sprinting?
Let's go.
She was doing it. Did you see her pick up her piece and bring it back by herself?
Sue was a beast. But the last thing I want to say about Andy, because that's actually where we're going next, is the Marooning challenge. Obviously, it was a bad look with him getting Rachel up in the middle of the night. That was almost the beginning of the downfall, because she told him hours earlier, do not pull me aside. That is a dumb Survivor move. And then you feel for the guy, because you could put yourself in his shoes and be like, if I'm kind of waking up middle of the night, freaking out, and I need someone to talk to, I'm going to go to someone that I feel close to. But I understand Rachel's point of like, dude, what do you think? This is bad. Why am I talking to you right now? So, I mean, I'm interested if you guys put yourself in Rachel's shoes, would you have gone off with Andy? Or would it have been a situation of like, hey, we can talk here at camp, but let's not walk off? It's a tough situation, because obviously you don't want to just shoo him away because he might be going through like a serious moment.
But no, we had it last season with Ben and Mackenzie. Mm-hmm. It's not a fact of not having somebody there to understand what you're going through. It was the timing of it. You're in a situation where 3 days in, you're doing something that's going to draw attention to me. Everybody's paranoid. It's just like, what level of paranoia are you carrying into the game? Which he said, look, I got caught up with paranoia, but paranoia come quick and fast.
Yeah. Yep. and sometimes can be super detrimental to your game. Most of the times it can be super detrimental to your game. So
You know
we're
what
gonna
isn't?
Oh, go ahead,
Sorry, you
Bruce.
know what isn't paranoia? What paranoia is not is when you wake up in the middle of the night and you have 4 Rebas sitting on the beach talking strategy, and you go back and tell people, and they're all like, "You're crazy." I'm like, "I ain't damn crazy. I saw them all on the beach. They're scattered like rats. Like, what the hell's going on?" Like, sorry, it's still fresh.
It's still fresh in your mind. Well,
Love you guys.
there's a second part to this whole thing, and that's Mr. John Lovett. We're going to get to him a little bit later on in the show, talk about that elimination, that shocking elimination that maybe a lot of people didn't see coming. But there was a lot more that happened this episode outside of Andy and his paranoia. There, we heard before the season began that there was going to be a new way to get your tribal supplies. But first, we had a marooning challenge that was kind of a blast to the Survivor past, in the sense of we're running through the woods, getting dirty right away. Abraham, you were always the challenge guy. So I know you had to enjoy this challenge. And we saw an amazing comeback. It was actually a positive part of I'm still learning the tribe names. It's Gada. Yeah. It was a positive part of Gada's episode because they were Sierra and I can't remember the other person, really lost ground for them, and they were able to come back and get their supplies. So how do we enjoy this marooning challenge that we got in this premiere episode?
You know, to kick off the episode, I love a good challenge. And this had every aspect of it. Puzzles, it had an aspect of physicality to it, but you get a chance to see the players just going all out. And you also get a chance to see how you match up. You know, you got TK in this, and he's gonna run everybody over. So it's like, okay, where everybody kind of fits at, because you're still looking at the side of your eye how they playing. Because if you get in a merge, you're like, hey, can I depend on this person here? But you know what? Got to give Sue her props. When her time came, she dove in the mud. She was moving, went and undid this challenge on a piece and ran back. But again, the winners at the first challenge don't mean you're gonna be the winners at the second. So it's just your number call, man. And that second challenge, I thought that was a good one. I was wondering how they're going to replace how you're going to get your actual flint. I love the way it led into it. I love the fact that it was unknown and the boats kind of took off in different directions. It was a great, production. I'm going to go ahead and give them credit for tonight. They did an absolutely great job of just kind of segmenting and letting us see the players kind of develop.
That drone shot was absolutely insane. The one that followed Kyle through the woods. I said,
yeah, that was great.
We talked about this on the pre-show. I was like, oh, wow. I mean, Survivor is about sick and tired of not getting this Emmy. So they really stepped it up going into the season. Josh, Bruce, we had this whole marooning happen where Jeff's obviously talking to members of the tribes, getting to know each other. And we're going to get a little bit more into the alliances that formed and who stuck out. But just from this initial marooning and challenge, who stuck out to you guys? Because obviously Abraham is right. Sue looked like a beast. I thought TK looked like he was going to be the guy to beat this season challenge-wise, because when I saw him dive into the mud, I was like, okay, TK's someone to reckon with this, or not to reckon with this season. So to you guys, who really stood out right off the gate for you as soon as Survivor started tonight? Josh, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, in that marooning challenge, I would say Sam impressed me with like how quickly he went out there and back with the puzzle piece, and then when we had enough time to go back and help, I think it was Annika who he was with, bring it back. I thought that was cool. Whoever was on the puzzle for the yellow tribe, I think
it was Rachel
and
Annika too. I think it was Rachel and Annika.
Like they flew through that. I mean, you know, in these challenges where you like go fetch something and then come back and solve the puzzle's always a great equalizer. But they killed it. So I was I kind of expected them to do better on the puzzle with the Survivor logo and the immunity challenge based on how they did.
That's what I was thinking
the first time, but they crushed that puzzle.
Bruce, who stuck out to you, man? Who gets Bruce? Is it the same people we mentioned, or is there someone that we're kind of forgetting here?
No, I like the idea that Kyle, the way he ran through, not because the drone was following him, but because he was quick. He went through, like he just shows he's a competitor. Like he had his partner that was behind him. He grabbed this piece and then ran back. He was going like, see you later. And then I gotta mention this. damn it, every single time that someone went running towards that pit and went underneath that board,
I wasn't
like,
going to say it. I wasn't going to say it.
I was
They
gonna ask.
took away.
It's
They
like,
took
how
away
are
that
you
board.
doing? Like, watching that, is that like triggering for you?
It was very triggering. There was some people that were close.
Yeah.
They're like, oh shit, like what's gonna happen? Like, oh, every single time. And then when they all got through, I was like, whew, I was happy about that. But I really did like the way that Kyle, his tenacity. Like I said it at the beginning. He's good. He's the hunter of this season. I love challenges. I love, being extremely competitive, and I think that he's going to take that over in that light. So I was all over Kyle with that one.
Bruce, if you have an everlasting impact on Survivor, because I don't know if anyone else has noticed this. Those nets seem to be raised a little bit higher at the entrance now versus when you had to go under. So the Bruce effect, it's well in effect. I will say that. I
think that when we were going under ours, because the pit was out a little bit from watching, the pit was out a little bit, and it was only off the ground like what? I don't know, 12 inches, 14 inches. It wasn't high. It wasn't high at all. And, yeah. Then now it's like 7 feet. Just walk underneath it. You'll be fine.
Yeah. If Bruce was out there, he'd dive. He'd be like, man, this is easy. What is well, this led to the other two tribes having to fight for their very limited supplies that they give you out there. A pot, a machete, a flint. Sweat and Savvy has been a staple of the game going way back to season 41. But Jeff said it was retiring this season. We were doing something new. And we saw this scene where each tribe had to choose one person. They went about it different ways. The red tribe, it was just Asia. I want to go, which, Josh, I have to ask you about that in a second, because obviously Asia, your winner pick, that ruffled some feathers right off the bat. I mean, Asia wants to go. Okay, bye. You're not going to be here for the main time to socialize and stuff like that. And she's a thinker and all that. While the blue tribe, Tuku, they played rock. It was rock or scissors. And they said they told either throw out rock or throw out scissors. Whoever the odd person out, they go. And TK threw out paper, which I would have done the same exact thing. So I don't blame him whatsoever. So TK and Asia were the two who were going on this journey. And we found out that only one of them gets to bring supplies back to camp. It's basically a race to find keys. I mean, I already want to name the season 47, Season of the Keys. I think we had more keys in this episode.
Yeah.
The only episode that had more keys than this one was when they actually had that key hunt, like the tribe themselves had to go out and find keys or whatever. But yeah, a lot of key-based stuff. We'll get to the idols here in a little bit. But you had to race out, find these little map things that led you to your next clue. Then you had to go back to where you started and get in the ocean and get the key to unlock your supplies or whatever, which I actually thought Asia was going to find it before TK. TK got there, it looked like well before Asia did, and just could not see the buoy in the water. Bruce, I'll go to you first. Are we thumbs up on this change, thumbs down? Where are you at? Because me personally, I felt like it was time for a change, and I actually really enjoyed this.
No matter what, either tribe, of the two tribes, was sitting there waiting for a decision to find out if they got their supplies. So that stayed, which is good. Them having a hunt like that, I think it was good. It's brilliant, just for the fact that they've never been to that spot before. They had to use their brain. I didn't like the idea that Asia didn't like turn towards the water and just run off, because the way that they made it look is that she had it first. She just got to turn and see the water and just go towards it. But it's a good thing, because they need to switch it up a little bit. It's got to be changed up. It's got to stay. I don't want to say fresh, because the moral of it all is going to be the same, but they just have to keep evolving something some way, somehow. What they're going to do next year in regards to it, I don't know. Maybe a stand on 1 foot contest, who knows? But they gotta keep doing stuff to make it different. And I'll tell you this though, TK, the way he was wrestling that away from her, I'm trying to think of Kobe was laying in the bed, and there were two women that were fighting over.
Yeah, Amanda and Danielle.
Amanda, that's what it was. I kept saying Heather earlier. I'm sorry, Amanda, my darling. Just kidding.
Oh man, if she's watching this.
But I'm telling you, like that brought me right back to that, which is perfectly fine. But once Asia gets back, and if Asia said something to them, it's going to be like a big target on his back because he was so aggressive trying to get that. So that is what it is.
Yeah, I love the throwbacks that we have from this episode. Looking back, you guys are doing incredible, bringing up like I wish I had that memory. But once you say stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I remember that. Josh, you picked Asia as your winner. I was kind of shocked that I was proud of her when I thought she was just going to be like, oh, TK, you found it. I'll watch you get the key. She actually tried getting in there and like stealing it from him, which was like, okay. Like, was not expecting that. What did you take about this new twist on like one of you guys are going to get your supplies and then one of you is going to go back empty-handed and have to explain to your tribe what happened? Because it did put Asia in a rough position. She said, as a podcaster who talks about Survivor, I know that if you come back with nothing, the suspicion's going to be there.
Yeah, I think that it's interesting how they took like the Sweat and Savvy and combined it with like the episode 1 journey where you go off on your own and potentially get something, except in this case, it wasn't an advantage. It was just tribe supplies. But either way, it still had that element of like one person and you get to like, you know, you have full control of the narrative about what you want to tell your tribe and, you know, whether or not they believe you. So I liked that as a fan. I liked that mechanism of like kind of merging the two into one. That being said, Asia, I don't know. I don't hate the decision to volunteer to go alone because she has all the information and the knowledge at that point. She gets to make a relationship with somebody on another tribe. And yeah, I mean, Rome was, you know,
Roman it up.
Yeah, he was, you know, giving her a hard time about it from the very beginning. But I don't know. I mean, at the very least, she's there for 3 days, and this is at the very beginning of day 1. So, like, yeah, you're missing those first couple hours, and that is important. But I think if you're someone with the social game that Asia has, and as someone who's as capable of like winning people over and ingratiating herself as she seems to be, and as everybody says she is, I think that you can make up for a couple hours missing. So I kind of liked that decision from her. And I loved when she reached for the key that, you know, was kind of in TK's hands. I thought she had him for a second and I would have lost it if she did. That would have been so awesome to see her like taking on this guy who's like way bigger and stronger than her and like wresting the key out of him. But, you know, I admire the fight. I admire the scrappiness. It was
I was like, get it, girl. Like that would have been such a boss move if she ripped it out of TK's hand immediately. And imagine TK going back. Do you tell the whole truth or do you just like, I lost? Or do you tell, I mean, I found it first, but Asia just ripped it out of my hands. Like
I would have been like, she hit me with a rock. I don't know what happened.
With a coconut.
Show us the spot, TK. Show us the spot. Abraham, close us out on this. Did you like the new take on the Sweat and Savvy? It created a lot of drama, and I do think the editors, you keep bringing up the Survivor, crew behind the scenes, they had a lot of fun with this because they obviously made it seem like TK was struggling to find the stuff while Asia found it pretty fast, and then Asia's like, I don't know how to get back to the beach. I can't. I was like, okay. I've never been out on the island. So Bruce, Abraham, maybe you can help me with this. It can't be that hard to find the beach.
It depends on how deep they had to go in to find the stuff. You could get disoriented if you're just kind of focusing on trying to get it. But I don't know that. Look, I'm trying to throw you a bone on this because I'm like, because you can hear it. You can literally hear it
downhill. They went uphill. You got to go downhill and get to the water.
Look, I met Asia a couple years ago, so I'm gonna say she just got disoriented. It was hot. What flashed in my mind was Bruce on his challenge where they were going for the money, and Bruce was just kind of strolling. He was like, "Yeah, man."
Oh, good point. Good. I mean, I will say this: Asia was super focused on like, I have to find the path back down. And props to TK for being screw the path. I'm just going through the woods here. I'm just going to go straight through.
Wait a minute. What I was surprised about was they didn't talk any strategy. They didn't have
time. It was like choose your path and go.
Oh, there was some time in there. They didn't see TV, but there's some time in there. And I was hoping that they would show them talking strategy for the merge. think, because you know what, you got Asia painted as a podcaster that talks about Survivor. That's a key time when you're away from everybody that says, hey, we'll meet up again. You know, you throw that out there. Don't do like Jelinski said. Don't do that one. But you throw that out there, and that's somebody you already know for a merge. And you take advantage of those opportunities. I was kind of surprised that you didn't see that from either one of them. But the Sweat and Savvy, seen it from the first time, and Bruce, you seen it twice. I'm glad it's gone. It needed to be
1.5.
You got all the juice out of that one. You got all the juice. You funny. You got all the juice out of Sweat and Savvy, man. So to be able to see it now and see it grow and evolve, I love the fact that TK's size wasn't as beneficial as he thought it may be. And he got there and was like, oh, I got to try to read a map. She had to get there. She had to figure out how to read a map. But the editing looked like she was ahead, and they made it look like she got lost in the jungle. So when I see her in person, I'll be like, hey, how long you was in that jungle? Hey,
it looked like they were out there for a while. My guess would be like an hour if I'm taking my best guess would be probably about an hour. But there's still so much to talk about. It was fresh to see something new. And I think I liked it. Josh put it best, I feel, with the fact of you kind of combine the journey, you eliminate that like first episode journey, but you combine that with the tasks that you have to complete. So I think this is something that could work for the next couple seasons. I personally, I would still like to see them do something where like maybe you do the challenge, and if you win this challenge, you get your supplies, and then maybe do an additional challenge, and then you get your supplies. I don't know. The challenge to earn your supplies is probably not going away anytime soon, but I'm getting to the point where I'm like, just give them their pot and their machete, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, you agree, Josh?
I mean, I feel like, maybe people disagree with me on this, but I'm like, it's 2024. Like, I feel like the days of people watching Survivor for the survival elements of like, I feel like those days are long gone. And then there's other shows that are like more intensely leaning in that direction now. Like, yeah, give them their pot and machete, give them a little bit of rice. Like, as a viewer.
Yeah, I agree.
The
fans are saying, I agree with you, Josh.
You get no pot, no machete. You better get out there and scoop a fish with your hand.
Yeah, listen, I'm all about them sitting there and having to go through that first challenge. Now, going back to what Abraham had said, give us a little bit more of their conversation. So if it's leaning towards the aspect of less survival stuff and more of like the reality, gotta, learn to meet people, know who they are, build a character arc, then give them that, like, show them strategizing, because they had to have.
They probably
they read that scroll. She read that scroll when she walked up, and then they said, hold on, do it again, and they talked to each other the whole entire time. Like, it's in there. Give us a little bit more of that. Keep the format that we have. Keep them fighting for something, because they're not going to fight as hard. Everybody's going to get a pot and they're going to get a machete and flint. Oh, we're going to start off like, all right, they're going to do the challenge to the competitive people, but there's a little something more when you're trying to fight for something that nobody else is going to get.
It's like Rome said. I'm sorry. Like Rome said, he was like, you shouldn't have went off on a challenge. That's the first couple of hours is the most important time for social conversation. Then he turned out to be the worst. I love it.
Somebody's got to go.
He was out there. So, but here's the thing. That first thing when you're getting the tribe and everything set up, I was physically exhausted from carrying them bamboos, because our two players, or the other two guys, they were doing Sweat and Savvy. So I was helping with the bamboos. And look, after you done call, look, they are around the trail, but you got to go pick them up. You got to bring them back. They're on your shoulder. There's no cushion, and you're trying to get everything set up. So I like that part. That's the part of Survivor that you don't get to see much of, but that's the part that Andy probably said, "Whew, this might be a little hard," because you don't see that part. So I like it.
I was gonna say it ended in a 2-2 split. You guys are gonna have to let us know in the comments, because I'm with Josh. Just go ahead and get it. It wastes time. Just give them what they need. Avery adds in, our new podcaster, Avery. See, I love that they don't give them much, because I feel like that it makes it 10 times harder out there, and that's where the drama and crazy comes from. So Josh and I will be overruled for now, but we still got a little bit more to talk about. We still got to talk about our standouts from this premiere, in terms of when we saw everyone go back to camp, who was standing out and making some great moves, playing a great social game. We still have to get to the idol drama. And how the hell did Mr. John Lovett get voted off after Andy's shenanigans? We will discuss all of that after this quick break.
What's up, guys? I'm Todd Herzog, the winner of Survivor China, and I am here with Survivor Now Podcast, the best source for Survivor information, to show off what I do for a living. So I make custom Funko Pops. If you haven't seen or heard, you can check it out on Instagram at Todd's Pop Shop, or you can message me, toddspopshop@gmail.com, to order your own. And if you mention this podcast, you will get $10 off and a free torch. So it's pretty freaking awesome. I'm going to show you a few right now. We've got Troyzan here, Phil from The Amazing Race, JLP, host of Australian Survivor, and look, little Charlie. Anybody you could possibly imagine or want yourself playing an LRG or an ORG, or just with your loved one or family or pets or anything like that, shoot me a message. I'm happy to make it. You also have the chance to win a free custom pop if you sign up for Survivor Now Podcast Fantasy League. So it's pretty awesome. And it's fun. Like, who doesn't want to be a part of that? So yeah, hit me up. Get your custom pops. It's great holiday gifts, great birthday gifts. We got a new season of Survivor right around the corner. I'm excited. I'm sure you're excited. Let's get this going.
Yes, Todd, we were excited and we're still excited after this episode because it was juicy. It's such a juicy episode. We've already talked about a lot of the stuff that went down, but let's get to this new idol. We've seen many variations of the immunity idol throughout this new era. Obviously, you had the beads a few seasons back where you had to collect all the beads to make the idol. Then you had last season that kind of did introduce the steps. There was that candle idol that Sabaya got that she had to melt at tribal council. Those are the ones that I can pull out of my brain at the current moment. But this one, I love this. Absolutely. This was my MVP of the episode. Is this? I don't know how you gentlemen feel. I absolutely love this because the multitude, sorry, I can't say the word right now, the multitude of steps that you have to do to get the idol. You can do one simple step. There's your idol, but it's only good for one. Now make your choice. You want to keep this idol that's only good for one tribal council, or you want to work a little harder to get one that's worth 3? Then you get to that point. Okay, here's an idol that's good for 3 tribal councils. Or you can work a little harder and get a full idol that goes until the final 5. Basically, the end of the game, guaranteeing you fire. That's a huge thing. If you can hold on to that idol to the very end of the game, you could be guaranteed final 4. You're literally putting the fate of the game in your own hands at that point. And we saw 2 different routes this episode. We saw Gabe, who was causing his own issues. Dude, you got to hold on to the box better. He dropped the box coming down the hill at one point, and it made a noise so loud that people looked over. I don't even know what he's doing over there. That didn't sound good. And he's like scurrying to like pick up the box and carry. It was a mess. I thought it was really awkward and funny to watch. It's actually one of my favorite moments of the episode. And then you have Rome roaming around the island. And I think for Rome's sake, he's very lucky that Lavo did not go to tribal council, because I think Rome's on the bottom of that tribe at the given moment from what we saw, because everyone is very weary of him other than maybe Genevieve, who we saw they kind of formed a connection there. So we saw that Gabe ended up getting the idol that's good for only 1 tribal council, decided to risk it a little bit. He did get the idol that's good for 3, called it a day, didn't want to work on it any longer. Correct me, gentlemen. I feel like I missed this. Did Rome ever get the idol?
Didn't get it yet.
Hasn't gotten it yet. Okay, that was the one part that I couldn't remember. So Rome is still trying to work towards his idol. The only thing I don't think I like, I wish all the tasks were the same, because someone did say this. They're like, so do we feel like Rome's is a little harder than, which that water thing was super cool. I'm like, just do that for every tribe. Do that like little water thing for every tribe. That's kind of awesome. Josh, I'll go to you first here. This was entertaining to watch, in my opinion. How did you take this?
Yeah, I like in general the idol, like the different levels of idols that you can unlock. I don't know what I like better between. I think it was 45 where they had, like you said, the candle idol where you had to risk your vote, and each time you risk your vote, like your idol got more power. I feel like there was maybe a little more room to play with that, but this one, the whole like Emperor's New Groove, like box inside of a box inside of a box, is I like this because it, basically how hard do you want to work for it? How hard do you want to like be stealthy and go around people's backs, potentially create a scene? Yeah, I think it's interesting, and I think that there's, you are sacrificing your vote each time, but but you can opt out at any point. So that was cool because it kind of creates a decision like, okay, do I want this just for one vote? Do I want this for 3 votes, or do I want it for the final 5? Because the more you play, there's pros and cons to like idols that have expiration dates and ones that don't. I mean, people sitting in this chat right now could talk about, how having an idol that lasts until the end of the game, it can burn a hole in your pocket, and it can maybe give you a little more confidence. I'm curious what you have to say about that whole matter, Bruce, because I personally liked Gabe's decision to stop with the 3, with the 3 tribal idol. But as someone who had a full-fledged idol, I'm curious what your thoughts are.
Man, listen, still fresh. It's really fresh.
Sorry.
No, there's, I agree with you. Him going to the next level, meaning that one tribal council. If you don't go, then you're done. Like it just drove me absolutely bonkers thinking that he was only potentially going to go for 1. When he decided to go, all right, the 3. That's where I personally would have stopped myself, because we don't know how much looking he's been doing. He already said that he worked so hard to get to where he was. Who else is watching? Who else is seeing him run around? He already dropped the box that made a hell of a lot of noise.
He already got caught by TK as well.
Caught by TK, yeah. So there's so much suspicion that's going on already, and then all of a sudden you're going to potentially throw more on you. Like that just doesn't vibe. But like the idol that I had, as much as it was a full-fledged idol and I could use it whenever I wanted to up until a certain point in the game, everybody knew about it. So once everybody knows about it, now what's that? What? Once everybody knows about it, now you kind of can still play with it a little bit, because there were moments in time they were like, okay, play your idol, and then we're willing to work with you. But then you can see through the BS of that and be like, no, I got to fight in order to make sure that I can use this, quote unquote, use this whenever I get a chance to. So my bad to myself and everybody that I love dearly and not playing my own idol. But it still gives you a good level of confidence that some things that you put together will come to fruition. So, but again, long story short, I definitely would have stopped at 3 and called it a day at that. Like the 5 would have just been too much.
I agree.
I'm
I agree
traumatized
at
by
that
Bruce.
point.
Bruce
Abraham,
traumatized me. He traumatized me. Because I'm pretty sure I texted you that night and was like, come on, man. You couldn't hold on that wall a little longer? I think I texted you that night.
Abraham, are you also stopping at 3? Because I'm shocked. I thought I was going to be the only person who's like, I'm stopping at 3. I'm good. If I get to that point, I don't want to risk anything else. Good.
Here's what in pre-videos get you in trouble. Everybody talking all that noise, talking about, I'm going to be the next survivor. I'm going to be on the Mount Olympus of survivor. If I'm not mistaken, Gabe said he came to play, that he wanted to be on the Mount Olympus of survivor. So for him, you go the whole distance, because you put it out there like you was going to do it like that. I think Rome definitely had some missteps. Gabe started off good by entrusting and get his ride or die. I always say you got to get at least one person that you feel comfortable enough to start strategizing.
That's the showmance this season that Jeff was talking about.
One person, and he went out there and he got Sue. I said, he got somebody to watch his back. But then when you run across TK, now, Bruce, I don't know if you saw your island, but I saw our beach. Now, that cliff in the back, I looked on that cliff. It wasn't none on that cliff. So I don't even know where. I like the fact that production now gives them an opportunity to look for stuff on day one. Our day one, it wasn't nothing available. You couldn't find an idol. You couldn't find anything. So I like the way production has gone ahead and moved forward with that. But There is no way to say that you pulling ropes off a cliff and there's a key.
Did anyone else feel? I thought this was a misstep from Gabe. You've already been caught. Tell him, look, dude, I found it. Let's go get this thing together. Let's work together. Like at that point, ride with TK. I thought it was. I didn't think it was a great move to do the whole. Well, I mean, I just found this key, and when TK was like, "Oh, there must be a chest around here." Oh, I haven't seen it. I just have this key, and TK caught on to that. He even said, "Something doesn't sound right here. You don't just find a key before finding the immunity box or treasure chest or whatever you're looking for." Was anyone else on my side in the sense of like, you should have just went with TK at that point? You got caught. Just go with them.
Nope. Do what you're doing. Everybody's walking around because everybody sits there and they're like this. Oh yeah, I'm going to get firewood, and they grab a piece of wood, but they're looking around to see if there's something else around them. So it's like this. It holds water in the fact that he could. Notice how I said that, water, and the fact that he literally could be sitting there looking at the vines and look up and what is that? Like what? And then there you go. You know what I'm saying? Like so. That's just the mentality. Like on television, it looks so different, but out there in the island, you literally are constantly looking for stuff. Even though when you say you're not looking for stuff, people bend over grabbing bamboo and they're like looking around, moving leaves when they're grabbing the bamboo, you know? And to go back to what you had said real quick, Abraham, every single island that was there, every color is the same color from last year. So
you know what? You're right.
Bellows where Bellow was, and they're blue. Tika, not Tika, I'm sorry, Tika. Lulu, right, is at the Lulu Beach, as I call it, Tika Beach. And then you have the Red Beach, which was
Lavo.
We was
Lavo.
on Yellow Beach.
Huh?
The reason I only know it's yellow, but you know this, it's a staircase up the sand.
Yeah,
that was Bellow. I remember that beach. Yeah,
that's Bellow. And then the Red Tribe, they're at the same one that Reba was at. Like they're all on the same beaches from last year.
I wish they would at least change the beaches. I mean, if we have to stay in Fiji for contractual reasons,
it's not as easy as that.
At least change the beach. Like I feel like we're getting lazier.
No, and like Josh says, he said, why couldn't the challenges be equal? It seems like Rome is doing more work than Gabe is. Here's the problem: the beaches are different. So you have to restructure the way they can find it differently. That's why he was pouring water on a log versus there's no rock cliff. Well, I only saw one of the islands. There's a rock cliff on this one, but it may not be a rock cliff on that one. So you got to readjust it. So I like that part of it.
I've been on all three of them. They've been on all three of them. The one where the steps, I'm sorry, the Blue Tribe, where they were, that was the only one with the rock face. All the other ones don't have that.
Rock. So you gotta readjust accordingly. But here's the thing on I love the fact that the beware advantage was leveled. What I kind of said, you made it so difficult to get the first one, but you kind of made it easy to get the second.
I don't know about that because I mean, Gabe had to break a thing of what he had to. I'm shocked no one heard him doing that. This man just had to literally
unless he was on the other side of the island, they heard him.
He was down by the water. I'm gonna tell you this: the only foot that he had to stand on was to say this thing was too big to carry back to burn the fire. So I had to break it up. That's all that ran through my mind.
Yeah, I did say the same thing. I'm making firewood, so which makes perfect sense. But we've got on this whole merry-go-round about would I go for that last one? I'm on Survivor. 3 wouldn't have been enough. I'm going for the last one because here's the thing about it is
Abraham.
I would have to see how hard was it to get the one gave you 3 tribal council. Depending on how hard that was or how much time it took would determine if I go for the last. I'll put
it would depend on how comfortable I am in my tribe. If I feel like I got a number 1, if I feel like I'm in this core 4, like there's 2, maybe there's one weird person that no one's connecting with and we got to vote. He or she is the easy first person to vote out. Then maybe I drag it on. Okay. I don't need to find it right this second. So maybe I'll go for that, full idol, and I can take a week because maybe we have the strongest tribe out here. I know it's a risk. I understand it's Survivor. You can never be too certain, but that's the only way is if I felt pretty certain that I was in the majority and maybe I was on a strong tribe. And if I was in a situation of I don't need it this second, so I can kind of drag this out a little bit.
Well, look, the top 3 people out, if we were voting 3 people out tonight, it would have been Andy, Gabe, and Rome. Each one of them did something to say,
Yeah,
put
probably.
that spotlight on to say, Rome definitely did it. Rome said, I want to share my chicken thing again. Because
I was going to go to Josh for Rome because I was going to say the whole idol perspective, we've been looking at it from Gabe's point of view. There was another person going for an idol tonight, and that was Rome. So, Josh, I mean, I like Rome. Rome was very, we all said in the preseason, other than Abraham, who on the pre-show says, I think Rome's not going to make it far in the game. We were all very high on Rome. Seems like an amazing guy. Seems like would have a great social game. But he also kind of struggled this episode in the sense maybe he was too eager in going out and looking for idols and stuff and not connecting with his tribe as much.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about this on our preseason cast assessment, but that Rome seems great, seems like a ton of fun, but also seems like there's a chance he seemed really shot out of a cannon in his interviews, and I think that showed in how he played the game too, just like doing a lot really fast, which, some people do that and it works, but for someone like him, it seems like people are onto him pretty quickly. So I feel, but it seems exactly like we thought. He's a great guy, a lot of fun, great narrator, gives great confessionals, and is doing a whole lot, but it's seemingly not working out too well for him because like he's not the best at like literally covering his tracks. Like we saw the scene where they were like going around, like a bunch of detectives being like, okay, yeah, we saw him here, we saw him here. He is so far these first couple days are a little bit sloppy, but a lot of fun.
I'm going to put on my nervous hat for a second, and you guys are going to roll your eyes and be like, oh, good God, Randy, they're fine. Can we not? There's certain things on Survivor that I'm not a fan of. Giant boulders being one of them. I better not see a challenge with giant boulders. That is an injury waiting to happen. I'm going to add to my danger list. Can we not have people digging in the well? Because I just keep, I kept thinking about.
I don't know what they were doing on that one.
I kept thinking
that was hazardous.
It's very hazardous. I'm glad I'm not the only one worried, but I'm like, if this is me, I'm very clumsy. I would go down. I'd get stuck upside down in the well. And now you're dealing with the situation of the crew throwing the cameras down and having to like get me out of the well from drowning. Because I'm like, the opening to the well, and Abraham Bruce, maybe you can speak on this, did not look that wide. And it looked like he could have easily fell head first and just been upside down, drowning. Like, I was like, can we just not do this, please?
I'm telling you this right now. Rome literally got 4 text messages, let's see, 2 phone calls, and a DM from his castmates saying, dude, your head was in that shit? Like, what are you doing? There's had a little bit of salty to it. Like, is that great? Like, look, using pert.
For some reason, this water kind of tastes like esports commentator.
All the people in his tribe are like, wait, that's why we all got sick on day 5. Like, that's why.
We had a rule with our tribe is don't put your containers over the well. Don't drop dirt into the well water.
Oh my God.
So I'm like, why would you even? They need to take that out, man. I don't want to see that no other season. Because I was like, how deep? I always thought the well was deep, but apparently it's not that deep.
I love it. It had to still be pretty deep. I mean, Avery says I would drown so fast, and that's what I was. It had to be deep because when he came out, the water line is like.
Where did the rock come from?
So
why did you put a rock in the well? So now we drinking rock water too. That was
that was interesting.
Yeah, I don't. Take
that like back in the day, you boil a rock, it tastes different.
I was like, is he in the well water that they drink?
I just
I could not believe that.
No. You know, this is something that Jeff pitched. He's like, we're gonna put pee in the well water.
No, that's a bad idea, right there.
Yeah, all the medical people are just like, that's probably not the most sanitary thing, and your immune systems are already.
And Jeff replies with, "Do you want your job? Okay, Jeff."
Yeah. We did eat a lot of dirt. Now. We did eat a lot of dirt.
Jeff just wanted people to poop because you don't poop right away. He just wanted to get that moving along.
He's sick of this other Bruce, not this Bruce, but the other Bruce. He's sick of that Bruce.
Hey,
Yeah.
I remember when they gave us that speech about the bathroom, man. I was like, "What? Where?" They was like, "Yeah,
Yeah, I think we're
T1,
all.
and did they call it T1, T2 with y'all?"
No, it was called. Oh shoot, I can't even remember. Yes, 15 months ago, whatever. But yeah, it was. But we call it Coconut Grove. So yeah, Coconut Grove, or you just aqueduct. Like it's
aqueduct. Yeah.
Oh
That's
gosh,
it.
we were in the first episode, and Abraham's already talking about pooping again.
The aqueduct,
Survivor now
real life.
tradition at this point. But I think 3 strikes in an idea is out. Strike number 1, you could drown. Strike number 2, people could get sick. And strike number 3, there should not be a rock in my water. No. I thought about going outside and throwing in a rock in my mug just for the hell of it, just to stay on theme today. But gentlemen, we got to talk about this elimination. We touched on it earlier, what happened with the Andy situation, but Andy did not get a single vote tonight. It was John Lovett who received the majority of the votes and gets voted out 5 to, I believe Andy voted for him as well. Or no, was it 4 to 2? Andy did vote
5 to 1.
5 to 1. I'll go to Abraham first here. What did John do wrong? Because I did call in the pre-show. I'm 1 for 1. I said I thought John Lovett was going to go home tonight. But I thought John was going to get eliminated because people knew him. They knew he wrote speeches for presidents, maybe. Maybe they just, this guy's got to go. He's too well known. I was not expecting him to get voted out for kind of no reason. They kept Andy because he had more strength, but I can't wrap my head around it because I'm like, Andy caused so much fuss and confusion. Like, why are we choosing? I felt like John, and I mean this, and don't take offense to this, Abraham. Close your ears for a minute. And Bruce as well, since you technically went home first on 44. I think John Lovett's going to go down as one of the best players to be voted out first. And I know that's a lot to say, but I seriously, from what I saw this episode, he was a great narrator. I think he would have been a really good social player. And I think it's just going to go down in history as one of the biggest what could have been.
Who cares? I mean, what? Got time for that shit. Anyway, I don't even know what Andy's talking about. That's trash. That's trash, Andy. So you keep that going. Here's the thing about it is, he had an opportunity. He misplayed the step. Plain and simple. He misplayed the step. You had a player that's obviously you want to point the bus to. You always try to find a player that you can point the bus to that you don't have to say their name. Andy gave him that. You didn't have to say Andy's name. All you had to do is sit back and give him the mad face. I'm like, trash, dude. That's how you're gonna throw me under the bus. Which everybody's gonna have a moment. I'm not gonna tell you have a moment. I'm gonna say, look, I see how he played the game. And then Andy had another misstep. You go with the one dude that says your name to another person and say, hey, let's vote out somebody else. You should have circled back around and said, hey man, I'm just trying to get that dude out. You already had
anyone but
Angels
me
group. You already had a Challenge Angels group that was gonna roll with you. How you misplay all that? And then you become the Randy of the best player ever voted out first group. Tell me this. Help me out, Bruce.
Do you have a player off the top? Do you have a player off the top of your head that you can name who is a better would-be Survivor player?
Me.
That's not yourself?
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
If we're talking new era alone, I think Maddie had it from
Maddie.
Oh, good point.
Like tons of
good
potential.
point.
What was Maddie?
Still not
oh,
over.
yeah.
Also, Abraham
Maddie played hard to the paint, man. Maddie played hard to the paint in real life. She played the game, and she was trying to get in there, and she played hard. So where's you getting this dude? I didn't know who John Lovett was until I looked him up. I'm like, okay. Because, you pick these players, we look at the bios, and then once I read the bios, then I know something about you. But I wouldn't say that here's a new era of Survivor was crazy. 41 and 42 never saw the new stuff. We only played with what we had. 43, 44, 45, and Bruce is here. Bruce, did you go look at 41?
No.
You didn't look at 41 and 42 before you got picked?
Nope.
So Bruce,
no need.
hey, did you look at 40? Which you came on 44. Did you look at 44?
I got to see 3 episodes of 44 and I flew up 45.
Yeah, so you got a chance to say, let me see how this game's work. Most of the new era players are looking at the previous episodes like 41 did. We looked at all the previous episodes. We just didn't know it was going to change as much as it did. So when you come out there and you play like this, I'll be like, what was you doing all day? What program were you looking at? So John, no, he didn't play a good game based off what was dealt for him. He should have not got voted out tonight. And he should have been the vote out. But we lost him.
Abraham saying he also said at the very beginning of that monologue, what everyone wants to say when I get in a tangent about something and I say one of my hot takes, man, who cares? Josh, I'll go over to you. What is your take on Andy getting sent home? He could have easily went with the anyone but me mentality, but he said he wanted to go out swinging.
Yeah, I mean, I respect the desire to go out swinging. It, because there's a lot of people who wouldn't have won the game if they had just kind of settled for moving on one more round. But that being said, there's also people, surviving one more round is the name of the game. And I think especially in the early stages when you were, I don't know how well John sensed that he was a little bit more on the outs than everyone else was. But if he did, I don't think that's the time to like go out swinging. I think that's the time to be like shift the blame onto the obvious target that was Andy, because I don't know. I mean, if he knows that he's not doing too great, like I think it's like, okay, I got to survive this round, gain more footing, and like let Andy be the obvious target. And it was like super easy for him because Andy publicly threw him under the bus, so he could have just easily ridden along with that. But I don't know. Like I said, I respect the desire to swing for the fences, but I think he was just barking up the wrong tree. I mean, he said they go to Sam and they're like, oh yeah, we're going, want to vote out Annika, and Sam immediately it was like, no.
I think Annika.
No, hold up, Josh. Hey, Josh, hold on for a second. Josh, was he the best first vote out ever in Survivor history for the new era?
Not quite. Not quite. I don't think I would say that.
I mean, Eric says right here, you're going to talk about best players voted out first and not mention Survivor legend David Jelinski. It's fair. I mean, we need to have a whole separate podcast where we just rank the people who. I mean, have I already forgotten about Francesca or however you say her name, which I can't.
Yeah, Francesca.
I'm the new. Oh my gosh. I'm the new Philip Shepard. I hear what you're saying, and I also think Annika was not the name to throw out. When he threw out Annika's name, I was sitting on my couch and I went, "Ooh, that's not the name." Just from the reads I was getting, I was like, "That's not the name I would have thrown out," especially to Sam of all people. I hate to say it like this, but I would have probably gone the Rachel route. It's obviously shoulda, woulda, coulda, and it maybe would have been different if I was out there and actually going through this. But that's the name I was hoping. I'm like, maybe if you throw out Rachel, there's some traction. But
what was Rachel's name we throw down for?
Well, I don't know. That's where my mind went. Just the moment he threw out Annika, I was like, ooh, you probably just ruined your chances. Bruce, you got kind of the same feeling?
Yeah. He should have straight up, coming from someone that was thrown under the bus. Almost literally.
From Emily, immediately.
From Emily. She just backed that thing up over me too.
Beep, beep.
If I was on her tribe, I would have been like, okay, yep, not a problem, blah, blah, blah. And I would have went right to everybody else and been like, yo, she's got to go. Because she threw money under the bus, and let's do the things we got to do, whatever have you. I wouldn't have thrown anybody else's name out there. Now, John's mistake was not throwing Andy's name out there. Like, Andy's name should have been thrown out there. Like, while they're walking with their things, and when production says no talking, I would have been talking. Yo ass is gone, and I would have made sure. Like you just killed, because remember, it's not everybody heard that. There are 18 people that heard. I'm sorry, 17, because he said it, but 17.
No, he heard it himself. Hopefully,
it wasn't even like there was a switch that said shut up. No, just kept going. But everybody heard that. So now when everybody hears that, now John's got a target on his back. If he makes let's just say he made it to the merge, somebody's gonna remember back to, and they're gonna be talking and say, remember what Andy said about this dude? I wonder what he was talking about. How dangerous is he? You know what I'm saying? So even though you're starved out there, you're lacking all sorts of nutrition, you're lacking the energy, the whole thing, you still, things pop off every now and again. You start remembering what happened in the first couple days of the game. But the other thing for Andy, here's what he's got going for him. He's an absolute shit show in this episode. And they're like, well, you know what? If this kid makes it farther, we're going to keep him. That's the mindset's a little early for that in finding your GOAT, if you will. But that's, I think, what is kind of in their minds right now. That if he shot himself in the foot now, he's going to shoot himself in the foot later, and I can take him with me, and then I can, win the game.
Easy vote, yeah. I mean,
hold on now, Jude. Hold on, Bruce. Is this your number one vote out for the new era survivor? Because Randy said all this. I want to make sure. Was this your number one?
I need you to.
No, Randy said that this is my number one best first vote out in the new era survivor.
Hell no.
Player to be voted out first.
Nope.
Did I say new era? I might have covered my
Yeah,
track.
you might have said ever.
If you remember, he sat there at one point in time, and he's just like this, right? He turned his head when he was asked the question.
Yeah, look.
In the new era, that's only happened one other time.
You know what's funny? What Bruce just said, but not that part. What you remember as you go through the game, because somebody would have remembered what was said that day. There's an episode where Danny meets Tiffany, and that's when they did the merge. It was at the merge feast, and Danny tells Tiffany, "Hey, y'all voted out all the men," which put a target on their back, saying, "Nah, I see what they did to that drive." So you got to remember, little things people remember through the game of Survivor can either help you or hurt you, and you lose through each phase. So it was that was a crazy thing to say, considering you just woke up from the first of all, he was saying some stuff on the grounds, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, I thought he was having, the way I took it is I thought, and I am not a doctor, and I am not speaking for Andy, this is just how I took it. I thought, being someone who's dealt with panic attacks, I thought it was a mixture of the heat, the paranoia, and then maybe him having a panic attack of because he seemed like the doctors didn't seem concerned with him, but obviously he kept mentioning, I was going to be voted out. Jeff, I was going to be voted out and stuff. It just seemed like he was getting to himself at the end of the day. That's what it seemed like to me. Obviously, I'm not speaking for Andy. That's just how I took it.
They did a good job of editing. Like Bruce said, 72 hours of filmers before you get to that first cut. They knew good and well he wasn't going to get voted out. But they had enough footage from the things he had done to lay a good storyline. So I'm going to give production credit. They laid a
even from
storyline.
Even from his Matt chat where he was talking about Andy saying I struggled, I didn't have a ton of friends growing up, I wanted to fit in, and then he was so all that way back, in high school, all of that is still in the back of his mind, and that's coming to the surface while he's there, and they're building that up even on day one, night one, and then some of those insecurities bubble over to the surface when he's physically exhausted, maybe panicking, losing the challenge, huge fan, all of his potential survivor hopes and dreams could be coming crashing down on day 3. They definitely laid the groundwork for you to read into that right away for okay, yeah, this all makes sense. We can see how Andy got here.
I definitely.
Sorry, he literally, they set that up. They did a great job with all of that, and I truly appreciate it. And is it something that remember we talked about Bono earlier today? I don't want to see that arc or the portrayal of him being mentally weak that weak. Not saying Bono's weak, but I'm just saying if they're saying he's weak now, just overemphasizing the weakness of it. Because I wanted to send him a message. I wanted to send a message out to Andy and just be like, yo, hopefully you keep your head up, everything's good, la la la. Because my wife said to me, she was sitting there watching, And she was like, this young man's going to get nothing but hate. He's going to get all sorts of stuff because
especially after
and it's like, come on, man. Like social media is going to suck, but you got to, hopefully they turn it around a little bit and they give him a little bit of a different knock. Like I said, I think he's gone by week 3. Give him something in week 3 to kind of boost him up and that he's getting used to this. Because remember, he went out there, got nothing but time to sit there and think about your family, your loved ones, your high school, like he was saying, no friends, 4 friends, I believe he said. And then even John was like, yo, you had 4 friends? He's like, all right, so I got you. I understand all that, but hopefully he's not done in a way that it's, mentally going to destroy him now when the game's already done.
Well, one of the good things is that they ensure that even after the game is over, and especially when this phase starts, this phase, you go out there and tape the game, they make sure we have people to talk to. So I don't want anybody to look and say, hey, we don't have somebody there for us, because there's somebody doing the pregame that's there for us. Once you're voted out, there's somebody there for you. I don't know, Bruce, because you've done a later season than me, but for a whole year, we had access to resources because we know that social media has unfortunately devolved into people that don't know you but say some very nasty things about you. And some people
we can do a podcast on that. We can do a podcast on that. Like I said,
they can't block it out and not realize that these people don't know you, but they look at it. And unfortunately, what we have to go through to get on the show, part of CBS is saying, hey, we want to see that. But I'm looking at it like as Bruce has said, it's a hard thing to look at to say, is this too much for a person to be a part of this type of show? Because the first part is just filming it. The second part is you relive what you already know in your mind, and you have people judging you for it. Andy probably is the nicest guy you ever want to meet, but he's shown a side to the world that now they're looking at him in a different light. His circle, I think I forgot what season it was when one of the players got outed for being trans, and it was like you outed that to the world. You didn't just out it to the group that's here on Survivor. And I'm pretty sure CBS had to get clearance to air that episode because that's beyond personal. And you just got to keep in mind, at the end of the day, this is a game. Period. It's just a game. I hope that he knows that. I hope that there are people around and say, hey, this is just a game. Even us doing the podcast about it and whatnot, me and Bruce may know more about the inside of it. But ultimately, I looked at it as a game. And I looked at people that y'all don't know me. Now, you just trying to run up on me in public. So I'll show you exactly. It's just a game. It ain't personal. Don't say that crazy. Just because people see us out and about. Because I bet Bruce, when he was in New York, much love for Bruce. Meeting Bruce and seeing him in person, talking to him, but we're just playing the game.
Yeah. I hope everybody going into this season, especially with what happened with season 46. Obviously, Tegwith posted something saying, be nice to castaways. There's a couple people, I will not name names, from season 46 that do not want anything to do with Survivor at the moment because of the hate they got online. So let's go into this season in a positive a positive mindset. The last thing, I'm going to loop it back a little bit to the actual elimination itself. And the last thing I'll say before we do our outro here is to play devil's advocate with John Lovett. I could see him coming from a point of view of, this is the only person who I've had as an ally. So if he looks at it from, I'm going to go out swinging. If I go out, I go out. Maybe he saw it. Andy goes here. I'm going next regardless. So why does it matter? I might as well try to turn someone so I can keep Andy, who's my number one ally in this game. And that would extend my game. That's probably how he was looking at it. He's like, I'm either finishing first or I'm going to get voted out next. And so might as well go.
Hold on. Did you look at the same show?
I did.
Did you? Okay. Did you hear his?
There's a core 4, Abraham. You saw a core 4.
He was fine. He was
not fine. I think he would have gone next.
But here's the thing. Sometimes you self-impose stuff on you, and we only get to see the edited version. But did you hear his speech at the end? He was like,
yes.
The people in my circle could be surprised. I made it this fortune. Bring it on. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I'm like, are you playing the game of Survivor, or was it just something that you did? To me, he kind of came off like, I just want to see if I could do this. What?
I mean, maybe, and he did, but I feel like it's always going to be, you know, how far could he have gone? But at the end of the day, John Lovett, we love you, but you were the first one voted out of Survivor 47. So I got to wrap this up, but we didn't quite get to talking about our standouts of the episode. But don't worry, it's okay. There's more Survivor Now coverage happening this week. You didn't miss out on anything. Ooh, see, I was worried that this was going to happen. Hold on a second. I can't get it. Okay, who are we missing? Abraham, I'll bring you right back in a second. I forgot to make a layout where. Yeah, there we go. I did make a layout.
No,
I was like, oh, did I not make a layout for 4 people? So we have more coverage, even though we didn't get to who the standouts were in terms of like scheming and alliances. You know who will get to that? Survivor Social tomorrow night. This show is all about the social element of the game. So they will definitely be talking about some of those conversations that happened throughout the episode. Who are forming alliances right off the bat. And Tegwith and Kara are joined by a very special guest tomorrow. They are joined by Timmy Bridgman. He works with Bryce and Win Presents on their social media. I know he'll be posting a reel tomorrow giving his thoughts, or later this week giving his thoughts about the episode. But he will be right here tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern time, to break it down with Tegwith and Kara. Also on Friday, noon Eastern, we have Survivor Stockwatch. Jack and will show you their first power rankings, tell you based on the edit who's probably going to win this season, who's probably going to be the next one to go. They also break down the edgic of the episode. If you aren't familiar with edgic, look it up. It's a very neat tool that kind of shows you how the editors are painting each castaway, and it really opens your mind. After watching Stockwatch, you watch each episode from with a different perspective. So that will be noon Eastern on Friday. And then the last episode of the week, got something for you. Fellow Tika member Jam joins the crew to break down everything that did happen in this premiere episode. That will be, he's got the Tika buff right there. That will be 3 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday. Gentlemen, final question of the day before we leave. Anthony wants to know, do you see John being brought back?
John who? Y'all are tripping. Hey, block him, because no. Look, that ain't no.
We're going to end on that. We're going to end on John who. But thank you guys for watching. Make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on Spotify, leave us a 5-star rating. We really do appreciate it. Helps us get the podcast out there. Check out all of our coverage on YouTube or on our website, survivornowpodcast.com. And we will catch you guys next week for more Survivor 47.